on it, man. Look at it.
Stand by.
One for C-Lab, two for Troy Eagle, three for Wolverine to round out the trio. In this episode, everybody dies.
Broadcasting live from inside the power band, this is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, the Wolverine, also known as Briar Tuck, along with my intrepid companions, Slab.
Yo.
And Richard Doofus.
Ahoy.
Ahoy. Welcome to the show, folks.
That sounded like Dreyfus a little bit there. Just
a little bit. This week, in accordance with the looming date of the scriptures and Groundhog Day, which is coming up in just 2 days, we're doing the 1993 Uber classic Groundhog Day, starring Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and many, many other fine people. Let's get to it. You know what? We had a kind of an egregious misstep. Somebody brought up mustaches, and then we never talked about the mustaches. And I even had a note about a mustachioed man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, the beauty of that is we could just relive that episode over again.
Because the guy that had the mustache looked like a groundhog. That was the other thing that was weird.
Okay. Was it one of the groundhog aficionado officials?
No, it was one of the revelers at Gobbler's Knob. It was in the beginning of the movie.
Gobbler's Knob is just the greatest name ever.
I know, right, dude? It's so funny. I never thought about it before in that way.
Knob gobblers.
Knob gobblers. Gobble my knob.
Knob gobbling should be the name for a turkle's. A turkle? A turkey. A turkey. A turkey should be called a turkle, first of all. And a turkey's call should be called a knob gobble.
Knob gobbling, dick devouring
turkles.
Gutter sluts.
Holy shit, dude. There he is. Fuck. Nice. I found that son of a bitch.
Okay.
Oh, I got you now, you piece of shit.
Got you, good fucker. Oh, yeah. Dude in the top hat.
Yeah, look at that. He's right in the middle of the fucking shot.
Oh, I thought you were going with this dude. That's a pretty sweet little brimster.
Dude, that guy has got a fucking awesome stash, and he looks like a fucking groundhog, dude. I'm like, what the fuck is up with that?
He strangely does, yeah. He is a knob gobbling reveler.
Totally. There's this guy, too. He kind of looks like Paul Rudd's Midwestern brother.
Kind of, yeah. He kind of looks like that, or maybe if Paul Rudd had sex with Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Rudd.
No, better yet. Paul Rudd has sex with Bill Pullman. This is the child.
Mm-hmm.
I like that stash. That's a really good mustache. This guy is, I think, the winner, though. I mean, that fucking thing is beautiful, dude. It's tight. It's in the same, doesn't go outside of his mouth line. It's fucking 5 inches from the top of his lip to his nose. I mean, look at that shit.
You talking about your groundhog stash?
Yeah, the groundhog guy.
Yeah, dude. There's a fucking
right
airport runway length upper lip there, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, bruh.
Caught in them brambles. Dude, imagine him drinking soup out of the bowl. There'd be so much soup. The whole bowl of soup would disappear into his mustache, and he wouldn't even get a sip.
Yeah.
Sometimes his mustache needs some soup, you know?
That's fair. That is fair. That is fair.
Happen, dude. It really does need to happen sometimes. I'm gonna zoom in on this guy.
There's actually quite a few blurry mustaches in the background. This is actually like a stealth mustache movie. Punxsutawney, PA, full of stashes.
Yeah. He looks like Punxsutawney Phil. He looks like the human version of Punxsutawney Phil.
And he's terrified of his shadow. I love that.
And he's terrified of his shadow, yes. But more terrified of the shadow of his mustache.
And he's reveling in all the knob gobbling.
Gobbler's knob.
He gonna gobble some knobs. God, I wonder if they did that on purpose or not.
What? Made a guy that looked like a Groundhog Day stand in the crowd clapping?
No. Well, that, but also Gobbler's Knob. I mean, it's like... You know.
Some like old school Quaker named it. Was like,
yeah, right?
His buddies like, they're all so religious that they'll never know.
Freak out.
It's like time traveling Beavis and Butthead.
Exactly. Dressed up like pilgrims.
Call this town Gobbler's Knob.
Gobbler's Knob.
Yeah. Knob. Gobble my knob. Yeah, that's probably exactly what happened, to be fair.
I got you, babe.
Just kidding. This week we're talking about the 1996. Six.
Do you know how fast you were going?
I don't know. Sling Blade, starring Billy Bob Thornton in his directorial debut, and also first film of Lucas Black, who I'm a huge fan of, and Dwight Yoakam, John Ritter. Oh, this movie's so good.
Some people call it a Kaiser bun. Yeah, totally.
I reckon. Let's get into it. High level, dudes.
My high level is a question of why did you guys want to do this one? I like the movie. It's a super solid movie, but I'm just curious, is it the like quotability of it, or like, what are you thinking?
I don't know. You don't have the nostalgia of it, clearly, because you just watched it, and that's fine. Ben, answer that. Could you answer that question first?
It is endlessly quotable, for sure.
Definitely.
No doubt.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those movies that, almost everybody you knew had seen it. And everybody would always have like there's always a time to throw in like all right, Dan, or
yeah, sure.
We're going to love me some of the big ones. Or just a
I'm curious how many times I've missed those references in our long friendships.
That is potentially many.
Thousands,
yeah. Especially on like a job site.
There's probably a period of time in Kevin and I's friendship where we only spoke to each other as Carl.
Carl Ease.
And now we only speak to each other as Carl Urban, so it kind of keeps the thread alive.
Kind of evens out, right? I think to answer your question, I think Ben's pretty spot on. The only thing I'll add is that like the movie is interesting because like you watch it and it's not funny, it's a drama and it's really good. It's serious, And it's like there's that whole part of it that make it like such a great film. And then there's like all of the dressing, of like the various characters, especially obviously Carl, and it's like that part is somehow funny at the same time. You know what I mean? Even though it's not necessarily meant to be funny.
There's definitely some funny bits. Yeah.
There's some very funny bits in it. There's also some like really fucking sad bits in it. I think that's part of the appeal,
Right. But you know what I mean? Like as a whole, it's not necessarily like
it's not.
Hey, this is like a lighthearted comedy. Yeah,
no, not at all.
But some people call it a dark comedy, which is ridiculous. Like it's not a dark comedy.
I wouldn't call it's
some
a
people
great
call it a dark comedy. Some people call it a drama.
I call it a dark comedy.
I call it a Kaiser Blade. So I think like, yeah, it's a good thing it's a good thing to throw out there, Chad. I would not consider this a dark comedy at all. It's a drama with moments of levity, I mean, like the bits with like, Bill Cox and Scooter and, like all those bits are really funny. And, there's some really, obviously very touching moments between Frank and Carl and all that kind of thing, you know, but it's not a dark comedy. That's stupid.
Yeah. Maybe it's just misplaced.
I think when I was in my, mid to late 20s or whatever, when this came out, I treated it as if it were like a dark comedy.
Sure.
Like I seem to remember having like a pretty callous, attitude towards some of the more like, as you do when you're, that age, like you kind of
exactly what you mean.
You kind of like, you don't want to feel emotional about it. So you just have like this attitude about it,
Sure.
Which I had a very visceral reaction to it this time watching it. Like the emotional bits really got to me.
Yeah.
Man, that was a callous little shit.
Yeah. Definition of my youth. I feel like even if watching it, you maybe weren't callous, like I could imagine myself watching it and being like, wow, that was interesting. And then like the next day immediately just going straight into the quotable piss taking and just forgetting all about the actual watching kind of thing too. So a bit of both.
Yeah, something like that. It's like you laugh at it instead of like letting it get you.
You laugh or you cry, right?
Exactly.
But it's also like it's also like a nod to him too, because he's like, it's a really well crafted character, like really well crafted. When you listen to him talk about like where he got the inspiration for a lot of it, it's really cool.
Well,
like
you
tell you put a lot of time into it. Yeah, exactly.
It feels really,
so Chad,
really real. And I appreciated that. And then to find out that he grew up pretty hard and observed a lot of people in a community that had similar vibes to a lot of the characters in this. Like, it's like, that makes sense. It's like you're writing what you know, which is so much more believable.
Well, and also that, like, I didn't realize this until I just watched a video on it earlier, is that his brother died. And that was, that's something that's like, just, as he said, stayed with him his entire life.
Sure.
It's like, it never goes away, so there's, those tones are in there as well. But Chad, I'm curious about what you think about this, because you're just like, oh yeah, watching it right now,
coming in
first
clean.
time, never seen it, and Ben and I watched it in the 90s, and I've watched it a zillion times since then. Yeah,
I mean, like the peripheral shit, like I can see why it did well at the time. I could see why it maybe could do well, or maybe not could do well now, but like it makes sense why it did well and hit hard. Like it's kind of an indie flick that has an interesting approach, interesting heart. It's kind of a little bit old school in the kind of pacing and stuff. Like it's a slow mover, which I kind of appreciated because I don't know, my experience in the South is it is a slow moving place, so it kind of makes a lot of sense. But in terms of the movie, like it's both predictable and doesn't matter. Like by the end of it, it was clear to me that my perspective was like, it's just a portrait of this guy, Carl. It's a kind of a deep dive into him. And they're kind of, I don't know, I'm just going to kind of like verbal diarrhea a little bit here, but like,
sure, go for
the things that I liked about it is there kind of isn't an arc with Carl, like he doesn't start off all fucked up. And by the end, he's like Supermaning around the place. Like he's the same person throughout. It's just that people's perception of him change. So the arc is kind of like people's perception as opposed to him actually changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a little bit of a moral arc with him killing his someone who he thought was assaulting his mother, and it turns out that wasn't the case. So that was like him being a kid and not knowing, to him intentionally choosing to do this for a kid at the end. So it's like it's kind of an arc, but it's kind of like he's kind of the same person. And then kind of realizing myself that he's not a mentally challenged person. He's just a misunderstood person. And I was like, I was kind of coming at it from I don't think this guy actually is challenged. And then it turns out in reading afterwards that he wasn't, So it's like, I'm glad that I was able to kind of like pick up on that. Cause it's obvious, but maybe not if you're kind of paying attention to different stuff. But yeah, like zooming back out again, it's a really, really solid movie. It's beautifully shot. There's tons of really amazing stuff in the scenery, and like some of his intentional like not doing close-up stuff is really interesting that I, felt in the moment but didn't realize until reading about afterwards. And then, like you guys were saying, the cast, like it was so awesome to see John Ritter again. It's been so long since I've seen John Ritter. It was kind of like a feast in a way, but it really had an emotional punch as well. So like totally see why it did well. And then was also like, this is a great movie, don't really know what we're going to talk about, but this is a great movie. Like, so that's kind of the headspace I was in. I know that was all over the place, but
sure. No, that was really good. I'm glad you had that reaction to it because it's just that good, and it's always been one of my favorite films. And I think kind of like Ben alluded to, like, saying like, oh, I was so callous when I was younger. It's like I was kind of the same way, like I never seeing it now and really doing a real watch on it. It's like you just have a totally different take on it, as an adult or a proper adult, I guess.
And I was a bit of a tourist, but I have a little bit of experience in the South because my mom owned an art gallery, and for quite a few years, like folk art, like self-taught folk art was a big thing in the art community. And so we would all go down like every year to like the deep fucking South and go and find random ass artists and like hang out with them. And so I was probably like, maybe this kid's age. There's this artist, Jimmy Lee Sudduth, this like black dude. And like my mom heard about him and we like went up to his house, and like he wouldn't let people anywhere near his house or whatever. But I made friends with the guy, and like, he would like mix Coca-Cola with paint and like paint scraps of plywood or whatever, and like hide him, put him under his house. Like, and his house was just like Robert Duvall's place. Like, it was a complete fucking dump, So this dude was like poor as shit and had like 3 teeth and whatever, and would like play. I was like playing the keyboard with him or something. You know what I mean? As like a fucking kid. So like I have like this really weird kind of exposure to some of this, but obviously it was also like some fucking random ass white bread tourist, So it's kind of weird, but. Sure. I feel like the kind of view of this community and some of the fucked upness and some of the warmness and some of the like closeness and hospitality of the community like really seemed believable to me based on like these random experiences I had that as a kid too. So like I've seen some people say like this is really unbelievable, and it's like, nah, man, this is like actually some people live like this, So I don't know. It was kind of that. I
disagree. I think it's too. I think it's totally believable. I mean, my whole family's from Tennessee.
Sure.
And, I've been to some different spots. I did go to Arkansas one time. I mean, like I drove through it once on a trip to Texas, but then there was another time where I like drove into Arkansas to go somebody's house when I was in college, because I went to college down there for a minute. And like, it was like, it was dark. It was at nighttime, but like I remember driving down these roads that were just desolate, desolate. And like, you're entering such and such place, population 1,200.
Yeah.
Like so many of those, man, like, and then going to rural parts of Tennessee and then really experiencing some of that culture. It really is like that. You know what I mean?
It's interesting and warm in ways too.
Kind of bizarre. Yeah. I mean, this is like early 90s, but like it was bizarre and kind of like you were like back in time, Yeah. I think a lot of that's faded now that our generation has kind of grown up,
Yeah, sure.
But it was still there then, and the movie feels very Southern to me.
No doubt.
Having spent a little bit of time down there, So yeah, I don't think that's unbelievable at all, man. Like those, certainly the locale and the places like that and the houses like that and people living like that. I mean, like that's very real. And shit, you can find that shit in Connecticut, and you can find that shit all over New England too, man. You know what I mean? So contrary to what I think a lot of the country thinks about New England, it's like you can find plenty of that shit around and you wouldn't know where you are. But at any rate, yeah, I think it feels very Southern, the whole film. It's got that, he captured that vibe beautifully, man, in my opinion.
And I mean, maybe like the easiest criticism on first watch could be like, this is unbelievable. Like no little boy is going to make friends with some fucking weird ass dude. No, mother's going to let the dude stay in the shed and all that kind of like stuff that you could choose to poke a hole in it. But I actually feel like that Southern hospitality stuff is a real thing too, so maybe that's part of why I brought it up.
Southern hospitality is a weird thing, man. Like my personal experience with it is like when I was living down there, like everybody would be very nice like that to your face.
Sure.
But then when you were gone,
it's a different story.
Were not. and it was not nice. Like at the time, and then like Memphis is a very racially charged city, even today. And when I was living there, it was as such. And my best friend was black, and that was like just
Not cool for people.
not a thing. And what do I know? I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm from here, so I didn't care, and it was just weird. And yeah, you'd get weird looks, and people fucking giving you the stink eye and the death eye and all that kind of thing. Like that was real. So like my experience with it is like, yeah, it's real, but I don't really know what those people are going to say once I walk out of the room. You know what I mean? At least
Sure.
up here, when you talk about like salty New England, it's like people are salty to your fucking face.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like, that's my experience with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of hospitality in New England. It's just that people are fucking cold and
True.
grumpy and fucking sore.
Yeah, true. That's true too. But I don't want to take away from like what's portrayed in the movie on this topic, because I believe that. You know what I mean? Like when you see Linda and like the way she acts and the way she takes Carl in, and even Bill Cox, like that's all very believable. You know what I mean? So I don't want to color like my experience with it with like the entirety of the South and that whole thing, because that's not.
The way that it's pitched from the, whatever the name is, I guess like the administrator of the facility that Carl's in, is like,
Jerry
he's
Woolridge.
a good Christian boy, like he goes to Bill
Yeah.
Cox and he's like, look, man, I could understand if you don't want to do this, but like, he's not a bad dude. He reads the Bible a lot and he can fix lawnmowers. And the guy's like, all right, give it a go.
Yep.
The Lord works in mysterious ways, he says at one point,
Right.
So like there's that angle, but there's also like, I think one of the things that I didn't really pick up on at the time, but really do now is like the mom, Linda, and Vaughn, John Ritter as Vaughn, for example, like they're the bottom of the barrel, like people, women in general are treated like shit and as portrayed in this film, like go get me some fucking food, etc. And or they just get beaten or whatever. And then Vaughn, obviously, as a gay dude, like it's way more plausible that they would take Carl in because like they're like, fuck, man, it's hard enough in this town. Like, let's give this guy a break,
Yeah.
So like that's totally feasible. Other than the like,
Yeah.
Carl walks into the supermarket and Vaughn and Linda are like, what the fuck, kid? Like, who's this dude?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the moment where most people would just be like, stay the fuck away from him when she's like, come talk to me for a minute.
Sure.
But for the story's sake, it makes sense that she's like, no, she just is empathetic or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a mix of hospitality and that shit talky stuff. Cause like there's plenty of that shit talky stuff that comes through. Like the amount of stuff that Yoakum and his yokels fucking talk about, always calling him a retard and stuff.
Sure.
It's just like, it's so brutal, dude. Like he's like in the room. He's like, yeah, he's
brutal.
a fucking retard, but he's all right. It's like,
Yeah.
he's standing right next
Yeah.
to you, man. Like, come on. It's fucking wild. Well, I mean, I feel like not a play-by-play, but a comment on the opening bit is probably a good place to kick it off. Like his monologue in the beginning is pretty fucking awesome.
Totally.
I thought for a minute we were going to go with the kind of Clarice FBI agent-y shit with the high school reporter stuff, but I kind of like, I don't know. I like that it's like this random high school reporter sitting down with the local killer, And it's just so secondary that it's her, but it kind of puts you in the seat a little bit. And then he just fucking hammers it so hard. It's so good.
Yeah, interesting little nugget about that. This was actually, and for folks at home that don't know, like this was actually made into a short film first.
Yeah, have you seen that?
And that short film, no.
Yeah.
That short film was called, some folks call it a Sling Blade. So I guess he made that, and that kind of sold it to be made into a larger, full-length feature.
With Molly Ringwald as the reporter, right?
Exactly.
Oh, sorry. Was
Thanks
that what you
for
were
ruining
saying?
that for me. Yeah, no, that's great.
I thought you were going with the he kind of did
Ladies
it in
and
front of the mirror
gentlemen,
nugget.
Slave 2. No. It was Molly Ringwald played the reporter in the original, and then they decided to go with somebody younger.
Yeah, sorry for the snipe. I
kind
thought
of
you
a
were actually
bummer.
going to say that it was like
No, that's right.
him being really pissed off on set in an indie film or something, and he like was like shaving and fucking around with his facial expressions and found the voice and like did the whole monologue off the cuff like right there and then and there, which Probably has some mythology to it, but like it's interesting that that's kind of how and where he found the character.
Since you brought that up, I might as well tell you that I just watched a little interview with him in which he, I am bleeding internally. So I just watched a little interview with him.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So he was talking about where he came up with the, and that was that he used to work in a, I think he said an old folks home.
Mm-hmm.
And he said there was a guy that would like go on and he would like talk and he'd be like, yes, and there's this and that and this and that and that. And that's where he got the inspiration for the
It's interesting how that shit all comes together. That's
It
cool.
really is, man. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. But it's like you can take little, you take little pieces of things, man,
No doubt.
Like I've done that doing, plays and stuff where it's just like I'll just grab this little funny bit that like I've done for years or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that fits right here perfectly. I can use that. Finally, it's cool. Sort of the same idea.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. I don't know if that's where all the other racket as it's referred to sometimes comes from.
The racket with him?
Yeah. Like that's like even like one or two of the characters in the movie say that about him.
Oh, right.
All that racket he's making with his mouth, because it is, man. It's a cacophony of fucking mouth noises,
It's interesting. It reminds me actually of a conversation I had with my mom recently when I was visiting for Christmas. Actually, no, it was in July when I came over. Like, she's been living by herself for so long, and I was like, and her hearing's going, so she's recently got like hearing aids and shit like that, right? So I was like hanging out while she was making some food in her apartment, and she was just fucking jibber jabbering all over the place. And I would just be like, "What? What'd you say?" And she's like, "Oh, sorry, I've been living alone for so long that I talk to myself all the time, and I don't even realize I'm doing it."
Oh my god!
And so
holy shit!
I feel like that's same with him. He's in his fucking shed in his bed hole with his quilt, and like it makes total sense.
And then he's in the nervous hospital, as well. I mean, not really alone, but. Here's what I'll say to that. And this is also a warning for all you folks at home, especially for anybody that works alone. I had like a couple of employees for a while, and then I got sick of that and I shrank it back down to just me. And I worked alone for a long time. And what happened was you start talking to yourself, and then you start talking to yourself more. And then you become used to talking to yourself. And then one day you catch yourself talking to yourself in the grocery store and there's people around and you're like, oh shit. And that happened to me. And I was like, oh shit, I gotta change this.
I'm going to the dark side. You befriend a volleyball.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah. And then I hired somebody, like just one person, like I can't do this
just
anymore.
To keep you
It's
sane.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes sense.
Yeah,
I like
because
it.
it's just it makes total sense, and I totally got it, and I totally understood why people did it, and I saw the whole thing like objectively, subjectively, but I was like, yeah, I've got to change this. This is not a positive behavior.
I mean, it could be.
I work alone most of the time, and I feel like the age of podcasts has sort of like made that go away.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
The only time I talk to myself is when something goes wrong and I get pissed off.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I'll have like my earbuds in and I'll be like, God damn it, motherfucker, it's fucking stupid fuck. And I'm like, and then I take the earbuds out. I'm like, I hope there's nobody in this house right now.
Boy, that was loud. Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. Because I remember like when I was still like deep into it, like before I moved, it was like podcasts were a thing and I was listening to like one or two, so I would at the very least like download them and listen to them. I started getting into doing that. Now it's like, that's all I do.
Yeah.
It's like if I don't have something to listen to while I'm working, I'm just like,
Yeah. I've been listening to more music lately, but.
Yeah, I hear that.
It sounds a lot like what you said a minute ago, Kev, with the culture of the South potentially changing as a result of, the internet or whatever. I can't remember exactly what you were saying. Yeah, the generational stuff. And I feel like I read the generational stuff as like, you know, everyone's got a smartphone now, so it's probably different, you know.
Well, I think it started with our generation coming of age, quote unquote, like getting into our like 30s, whatever, like in the early 2000s. And then I think the technology just, you know, helped that along.
Blew the doors open.
So yeah, sort of a little bit of both.
It's like the random National Geographic photo you see. I remember seeing it in like the probably quite early 2000s, like 2006 or some shit. And it was like a fucking Tibetan monk, like it was a woman dressed in like fully traditional garb, just like fucking yakking on a cell phone. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, okay. Things have changed over there, I see. It's
yeah.
Wild.
Totally. I remember that. Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think, yeah, the podcasts probably have changed the schizophrenic nature of self-talk, but it works here, sure, you know, with Carl.
Definitely.
Yes. I still say Carl wines to myself sometimes.
Do you?
Like what? Like, give us a taste, bro.
Just, you know, whatever random thing comes up, you know. I'll have had like my third cup of coffee in a day, which it's not something I often do, but you know,
okay,
if I do,
I know where you're going here. Yeah.
If I do, I will inevitably start having a panic attack, and then I'll look at my fucking cup in my hand and go, "Coffee make me nervous when I drink it."
Just like calm me down. I feel like that would calm me down if I was having a panic attack. It would help as opposed to hurt, you know.
Yeah, no, it does help. It weirdly helps.
It kind of makes it external. You're like, okay, I realize what's going on here. It's cool. It's kind of like when you're like too high or like on a bad trip or something. You're just like, all right, this is just something I got to ride out for a little while. That's funny.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're not riding it out alone, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Kind of like Carl's with you in your head. Yeah, I kind of do that too. Still. If I'm alone,
that's fucking.
You know, like if something happens, you know, like I'll just kind of be like, all right, Dan. Just move on.
I say that that's like my most used.
It's
one.
very,
like
very.
Almost,
oh yeah.
It's hard for me to not say all right then without saying all right, Dan.
All right, Dan.
I like that, like, you know, we're 280 plus episodes in here and you guys have referenced this so many times. And now I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. I had no idea.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah, I don't know why it is so, I guess.
It's so quotable.
That's so quotable. Yeah, it really is.
But it's not like a Super Troopers quotable. It's not like you're quoting the funny bits. No. It's not like Kids in the Hall. It's just so
it's people emulating, emulating the character.
All those little incidental things are pretty funny, though. You know,
they are. Yeah,
they are. Biscuits for sale in there.
Yeah,
yeah.
And a lot of it's like a combination of like him and then the way the South is. You know what I mean? Like that
sure.
way of talking is very Southern, man. And I'm sure that you can still find that in plenty of the South. You know, like, you know,
I'm looking for something or other to eat.
I love the one where it's just like with John Ritter, and John Ritter's like, you seem like you're a really deep thinker. What are you thinking about? And
oh God,
it's like, I want 6 or 8 damn pots of meat again.
My favorite part of that is when he goes, no, like, what were you thinking before that?
Yeah.
And then he goes, let me think
on it.
You know? Yeah, there's the it's the combination of the Southern part. And then I think, again, the quotable part, like I said before, is I think it's really like Ben said, it is genuinely funny, you know, and that has something to do with like the way they talk down there, but it's also like the way he crafted the character. It's like it's so well crafted, and all those little details and nuances in the speech, man. It's like you can't not quote it. I mean, there's a high level of detail there, and you don't really see that all the time. You know?
Yeah.
And he's fluent.
Yeah, certainly.
I remember there was like a trailer for this, and it featured the little, like, you know, I ain't got no gas in it moment, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You know, I was like, oh, I want to see that. That looks like it might be funny.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I think there are little moments of levity with Carl where, you know, he's just got a funny way of like communicating ideas, you know, or, you know, making requests or different, you know, like he's just got a goofy delivery, you know?
Yeah.
And, so like mundane things are kind of funny, you know, like when there's not like no tension, like it's not because you're like laughing at him, like you're like,
it's just the word funny, choice. Yeah,
know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Or delivery.
Yeah.
You could have easily gone like heavy with the comedy here. You know, like another
funny,
director, another
funny queer.
Totally yeah, exactly. You could have easily dialed that comedy way up.
No, but it's just the right amount, I think. You know,
like totally.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that came to mind for me, sorry to interrupt, you had something there, Kev, was like...
No.
It's already gone.
There was...
sorry, dude.
This made me think of like, in a weird way, it made me think of Tropic Thunder and Simple Jack. Like, I feel like a Ben Stiller, you know, could take a little bit from something like this and totally go a completely different, random, crazy direction with it. You know, like, obviously, Tropic Thunder or movies like that are going in a completely different direction, but they're like satirizing kind of, you know, social difficulties or simple-mindedness or whatever. Like Simple Jack is like such a fucking ridiculous character. Like the movie itself is, we should probably do it sometime just because of how ridiculous it is.
We should,
you know, clearly this is not even in that fucking universe. And it's, you know, not only is it not in that universe from a storytelling point of view, it's, you know, the character is not actually disabled in any way or alternately able or whatever the fuck the term is. But, you know, like I think it's exactly the right amount of maybe unintentional comedy. God damn, some of the lines are really fucking funny. Like I was definitely cracking up a couple times. No doubt about it.
No, absolutely. I think that like, I don't know. I'm trying to like put I'm trying to put a label on it. If it's like rural dialect of the South or, you know, particular area
like
of
slang,
the South, you know,
like there's lots of slang over here. That's really
it's also,
too.
yeah, sure. And I mean, it's also Arkansas, you know, and it's funny because like people think about the South and it's kind of like the Mississippi and then it goes east and it's like, it's not really like that.
Yeah.
Arkansas is definitely as south as like Tennessee or Alabama.
Sure.
Even though it's west of the Mississippi, you know? And then it's like you get into Texas and it's like, not so much, you know?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting place. And there's a lot of interesting places in there, man, you know?
Sure.
And those dialects are interesting and it's cool to listen to. Like I like listening to it. I like listening to the way that they speak, like in this movie, you know?
I like the way you talk.
Just back on the opening, man, like as a first time viewer and knowing nothing about the movie, it's really interesting. It kind of like, you know, it starts in that room and JT Walsh, the like clearly a serial killer guy, is like slow dragging a chair for like a minute and a half. And you're like, okay, I get it, you know? And then he sits down and is talking about all these girls. And then, you know, makes it super clear that he's, you know, killing or raping or whatever when he's like, I had to get her with a nylon cord. And you're like, oh, all right, that's fucking dark, you know? And then it cuts to the administrator talking to these two young girls. So you're like, immediately you're like nervous about them meeting with these crazed killers or whatever, that you're trying to figure out what's going on, you know? To have that go into that monologue is interesting.
Well, it is. And it's interesting because, I mean, for a couple of reasons, because you don't know what's going on. So you think like you're nervous. You think this guy, a lot of the movie, you think like, is this guy going to kill people again? You know, and then by the time you get to the midway point, you're like, yeah, that's not going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But but what's interesting about the beginning is that JT Walsh, R.I.P., one of my favorite actors, dude. In fact, a lot of the guys, as a quick sidebar, a lot of the actors that are in this are gone, and he's one of them. Brent Briscoe's another one who played Scooter. What's his name? R.D. Bale, who was actually a buddy of Billy Bob's, not an actor, who played Bill Cox. He's gone too. John Ritter, of course, is gone. Like a lot of the actors in this movie are dead. unfortunately. But the JT part in the beginning, like he's talking about the killing. Good. And it's so interesting because Carl is getting so uncomfortable about it. You know what I mean?
But you can't tell if it's uncomfortable or excited before you know him as a character.
Oh, fair enough. I always read it as uncomfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because then you spend like the next like 20 to 30 or more minutes like wondering like if this guy's going to kill again. And it's really that, you know, when you find out at the end that he is very normal and he has everything very well squared away in his mind. You know what I mean? About what is right and what is not right. You know what I mean? And he just kind of exists in his own space, you know, but that's what's interesting about the beginning. You know, it's like dude's talking about killing those women and Carl's getting uncomfortable about it. You know what I mean? And it's definitely not something that I thought of straight away. Like I didn't think about that until way later and many watches later, you know, because you can't tell if he's uncomfortable or not, you know, and you don't know what the hell is going on. I mean, it's like impossible to tell what's going on at the beginning of the movie. Especially when, you know, Jerry Woolridge is like, oh, we got to keep the light low for Carl and da-da-da. Nobody else can be in here. It's just you.
Yeah, it's a little bit of tension.
You know, so like it makes you, and it makes you nervous. Yes, exactly.
Which I feel was released as a result of the monologue. Like the fact that, you know, the reporter in the hallway can like go up and, you know, say thanks or whatever. And the administrator guy is kind of like, oh, eyebrow raised that, you know, Carl doesn't freak out. And then they go into his office and Carl's like, you know, I reckon I got to get used to looking at pretty faces or whatever, you know, like it's like,
yeah,
I don't like it felt very Brooks Was Here getting out of prison kind of Shawshanky, you know, where like he's just like has no idea what's going to happen and he's worried about getting out and the administrator's worried about him getting out. And then it's like you actually see him in the big bad world, you know?
Yeah, and then we get like a bit of levity straight away there. You know what I mean? Because you like
with the French fries.
Well, no, not with the French fries.
With the French
fries? Not the French fries yet. No, not that.
Not the burger stand.
No,
like,
the French fry. Yeah, the frosty cream is important, and that's funny. But we get that bit of levity, you know, and like he lets him stay over.
Oh,
and
right.
It's still sort of tense, but he lays out the first coffee, makes me nervous when I drink it. And then, you know, he sits on the bed all night.
Poor teenage girl's
sleep, you know?
It's like, you're going to sleep with mom and he's going to sleep in your room. She's like, wait, what?
Yeah. And then like he drops him off and then like he shows back up at the state hospital. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And there's that first bit of levity there. He's like, I want to come back and stay in here. I don't believe I know how to go about it. You know, so I don't know. I don't know what I was driving at there. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
my train of thought has a caboose tonight. Sorry.
And maybe that's why I kind of got the portrait vibes. Is it's really just kind of like it's a day in the life of Carl, you know?
Kind of is.
And it's kind of fascinating to kind of experience the day in the lifeness of it. And that's like up until the kind of tension with Dwight Yoakam and the kid. Like you're just kind of like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Right up until, you know, it starts building towards the climax.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm trying not to jump around too much, but whatever. It's like every single week
show,
we
bro.
do that. Yeah, I know exactly. I think it's important to try to go kind of chronologically. Like I really like how much time they spent building the relationship between Carl and Frank, the kid. You know, like they really give it its due, and I think it's well served because you really get the connection between the two of them, man, and how much he really cares about the kid. Like you can really feel it later on when he says goodbye to him, you know, because it's very like, I don't know, it's very matter of fact. Like they're having like a normal conversation. You're like, where are you from? I was in the state hospital, like, you know, all of that kind of thing. So it's like we learn all of that stuff about him and the kid as well in the laundry toting section, and then, you know, subsequently like all these other bits that happen in that beginning section, you know.
Yeah. And you can totally see why Carl connects with the kid. Like he obviously sees himself as a person who's left to his own devices and doesn't have a lot of help, so he's going to help him. And then the kid's like, sure, you can help me, dude. Like, yes, please. Carry some fucking laundry.
Maybe the brother that he never had, you know, the brother that he lost.
That was a really
some
heavy scene, man.
Phew, fuck.
And unexpected.
It was intense. And just because I think it really matters, like the music in this movie is like the score is really, really good, man. And I really feel like the tracks are well chosen to accentuate the various different scenes. So like that scene when he's describing, like, you know, being handed the shoebox with the baby in it, you know, and like the music is just really hammering the whole thing home, dude, in a very, very cool way. And soundtracks are very interesting. And I'm very interested in like the role they play in these movies that we talk about, you know, because they have very, very different effects on all of us, you know, when we watch these movies. And this one, it's like, I don't know, it really, you know, like when that sort of goofy kind of, I don't know what the word is, folky kind of tune that plays when it's like a montage when he gets off the bus and he's walking around kind of exploring everything for the first time after being out of the hospital, you know, it's like, it just perfectly accentuates that. And the rural South, man, you know, in a really cool way, just as much as the music that's playing when he's describing the experience with the brother in the shoebox and shit, you know, I don't know. It's really, really well done. You know, even the track that plays like when he finally says his last goodbye and he goes and sharpens the mower blade up until when he goes in to kill Doyle, like it's just really tension building and like really just really good, man. And it sticks so much so that it just sticks with me. You know, it's like I can't watch those scenes without having that music in my head. You know, where that's not always the case with other films. You know, I think that's why I made that comment a minute ago.
No, I had a similar reaction. I think like the score, it kind of sticks out at you, but it really drives the scenes.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, and that's, I mean, it's unique. That's interesting. But
Yeah,
I was struck by it this time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels very sort of organic and analog and like, for lack of a better term, like homemade, you know?
Yeah.
Like in that kind of
raw. There's like a rawness to it.
Yeah, raw, but and not quite like the John Carpenter I did it myself because I was like, fuck it, this is how I want it way, but just that kind of, yeah, raw, I guess is the best thing. Just it's really good. It really fits. It fits the locale as well, you know. So like, I think it lends to the world building here. You know, it's like you building this feeling in this of this feeling of this locale, this like rural southern locale, and that music really just like takes you the rest of the way there. I feel like it's weird.
Totally.
Maybe it's not that weird.
I'll take an ejection death here, but I remember seeing the
Granted.
I remember seeing someone talking about, I thought it was like a French dude did the soundtrack to this, but it was a French Canadian guy or a Canadian guy, Daniel Lanois, who I never, you know, I was like, whatever. And so I Googled him, and it turns out that the night before I watched this, I watched a documentary on Peter Gabriel's So, the album, like the kind of his mega hit, and he co-produced that album with Peter Gabriel. So that's like really wild that there's that.
Whoa.
So he's a really, really talented producer. I mean, it sounds like you are familiar with him. Benny.
He's a legendary producer for sure.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, it's a great score / soundtrack. I suppose score is probably the word. It wasn't like beat you over the head, but it was punchy in the right places, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, especially the tension driving stuff.
Yeah.
You know, those scenes where like you're not quite sure what's going to happen, you know, like there's a lot of tension, you know, like, I mean, I think the first time I watched this movie, like I was like, oh fuck, is Carl going to flip out, you know, like in a lot of these scenes, like where there's tension building, and the music really does the job of like making you feel like something might go sideways,
Sure.
you know, and then like it just kind of ends and nothing happens, and you're like, whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting that he doesn't ever really indicate he's going to snap. Like he kind of like looks to the side and you're like, is he going to fucking flip out? Like you said, is he going to flip out?
Yeah.
But he's really, in the end, he actually has total control, including the decision to do, you know, what he does at the end. You know, it's just complete awareness of what he thinks needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I feel like I don't know if the movie would fall more flat if there wasn't that tension, but I appreciate the tension.
No,
It's not
appreciate it
gimmicky.
too.
It's, you know.
no, it's not gimmicky at all. It's visceral, you know, and real, and not. It's not like a jump scare in a horror movie or something. You know, it's like it's part of the story. I think that you're meant to experience.
Yeah. And it reminds me of the opposite of the tension building stuff, which is I remember, you know, back watching the Lord of the Rings stuff with Peter Jackson, there were some of the like 57 hours of extra shit interviews in the DVDs where, you know, Jackson was talking about using Gimli as comic relief so that like it kind of, you get like adventure fatigue if there isn't something that kind of cut the tension a bit, and so like I get that despite my, you know, long standing disappointment with that series. And I feel like it's similar, you know, like I don't think that in this particular case, the tension stuff detracts from the story. I think it drives the story. Whereas like you know, fucking stupid Gimli bullshit detracted, you know, on occasion, while I understood the thinking behind it. So it fits really well here.
While at the same time giving you a break from all the running.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's like, yeah, we're running over another fucking mountain in New Zealand. Fucking movie.
Totally.
Speaking of music, I never really listened to any Dwight Yoakam shit. I'm fully familiar with him. Do you guys have any
Neither have I.
awareness of him?
I haven't listened to a fucking lick of it. I always was aware of who he was, and I knew he was a country artist, but I never knew anything about him. And this was the first time
really
I'd ever
solid
seen him
in this,
do
man.
anything, like music, acting, anything.
He's so he does a
Oh my
great
God.
job of being so fucking despicable.
He's so despicable.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah, he's from that era of country that is just beyond my appreciation.
What do you mean by that, buddy?
Like it's anything past like the early 80s, really. I'm not a huge country fan, but I do have an appreciation for older stuff, and it's, you know, pretty much up to the early 80s, and then
Got it.
and then I'm out. I'm done. This is like all stuff from
It's like pop country
I
shit.
feel like from the 90s, you know, like
Right.
like both my older brothers went from like being like hair metal heads to being like really into fucking modern country, and I was just
That's
like,
weird.
Fuck you guys. I hate you.
It kind of makes sense.
I hate
in a
everything you're
weird way.
listening to. Like,
Metal up your ass. Totally.
It's like the hair metal equivalent of, it's like a hair band equivalent of good country. Like it just like, I don't know.
No,
Like
and a lot of people like went that way, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's just not an era of stuff. I mean, I don't know everything that he's done, but I just like I'm like I just remember hearing like guitars, Cadillacs, and hillbilly music, and just like being like, ugh.
No thanks, man.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's not my.
No, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like, I don't know. I mean, you're talking like, so you like stuff like Johnny Cash, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know, Willie and Waylon and fucking, you know, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like there's some like goofy stuff from like the, you know, or Dolly Parton even. And, you know, like there's some like
Sly Stallone's
whatever,
movie.
like some stuff
I feel like
from the early 80s, you know, like fucking
Right.
Ricky Skaggs and like Eddie Rabbit and shit like that. Like
right.
that I get a kick out of listening to sometimes, but it's a rarity, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like country kind of went that like super commercial way.
Everything did,
in
man.
that time period. And I think that's
Yeah.
what, well, yeah, but like it really went like on steroids in that direction, and it kind of got like super produced and like, you know, all that kind of thing. Like, I feel like that's what you're kind of vibing on, which
Sure.
I kind of get.
That's just
Like when right? You know what I mean?
Stuff
though? Like,
now just sounds like any old pop music, but
Oh, it's
with
the
like
worst.
with like a twang, you know. It's,
Yeah,
it's like just pop music, but there's a steel guitar and like a, you know, and a fiddle solo or whatever, you know. It's just, I don't know. I mean, if that's your thing, then go for it, you know. It's just, and the thing that bothers me the most about it is that lyrically, it's the stupidest shit ever.
That's it's exactly what I'm saying.
You can tell based on the rhyme scheme, like with a 90% accuracy, what the next set of words are going to be.
Yeah.
And it's
like,
going to be about like a girl in a bar, or a truck in a bar,
he's going to say
and a
something.
bar.
The sentence is going to end with this word, and you're like, "Yep," you know.
Got it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And the subject matter is just abysmally dumb, you know. And I know that's not all of it. I know there are good country artists out there now,
but the commercially
stuff
shit
that's on the radio for the most part seems pretty.
I don't think.
dumb.
I think it's at its like definitely not at its best moment. You know.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
But I mean, I
can't think anybody off the top of my head. I know there are some good country artists out there now, but
yeah, it'd be
I can't
similar
think of
with
any
pop and
either.
indie. Like it's the same shit. There's pop.
No,
country,
I
and
was
then
going to
there's
say
indie
that,
shit,
Chad.
You know?
Yeah. No, because like all the pop music is like that too. I
Same,
was watching a really interesting video about how they were talking about how they've figured out like the exact right tones and frequencies and cadences and like ways to write songs that people will love it and it will be popular. And it's like that is the
Death
absolute
of art.
like penultimate death of art. It's like it's like the intersection of like art and absolute evil. You know, like
it's worse. It's worse than the dreaded brown note that Benny has brought up on occasion.
No, it is.
it is. The brown note is at least is honest, you know.
Exactly, in its intentions.
It's not deceptive. It's not trying to like trick you.
So all of that about country music aside, Dwight Yoakam is quite excellent in this movie.
No, he
really is.
I mean, he's absolutely despicable.
Blew me away. Is fucking and again, like, you know, you're talking about fucking comedy moments, dude. I mean, when he fucking flips out in the house after they fucking jam out, it is so goddamn funny, dude.
You into that?
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god.
It's like fucking
I'm hurting, Linda.
Colonel Bruce Hampton is like in his band. Like it's just
Totally.
it does that whole.
I'm hurting, Linda.
His fucking oh my god! Like Emma and I had when we were in Port-au-Prince, one of the dudes that we worked with was one of those like talk shit and then say nah, just kidding or just joking. It's like you weren't fucking joking, mate. And like that.
Yeah.
Here was just like so on its face where he's like, I fucking hate you, you retard motherfucker. I'm just joking. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's so hateable.
That's not true. I love your mama.
I love your mom. I think you're a fucking piece of shit. I don't mean that.
I have known people like that.
Shit. Yeah, exactly. We all do, man. I feel like it's just such a unfortunately common trait. I think my favorite bit of that scene, to like chuck a random one out there, was I love how Frank is just like throwing fucking bottles at him until Doyle's like, I'm sorry, okay. It's just like, fuck, go for it, Frankie.
Well, I mean, from a serious side, like he's just, the kid is so pissed. His life is so tough.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. He lost his dad, who was his hero.
Yep.
And it's like this douchebag is here and he's so little he can't fight back against him, you know?
Yeah,
and,
not strong enough.
You know, so he really, really like unleashes in that part and it's great.
It is great. It's cathartic.
But I mean,
it's so good, man.
It is so good.
It is. And that's the beginning of like the ramp up to the mower blade,
sure.
You know, because it's just like, they don't believe that he's going to change, you know, and Frank is so angry and Linda's just so like torn, doesn't know what to do. She's like, he'll do it again, but I don't know what to do. I'm a woman, and this guy's fucking clearly crazy, So I don't know.
It's fucking awful. She's like,
it is.
She's like, I'd rather he just get sick of me and then he leaves, and that way it's his idea, and like he'll just go away forever. Like, if I try to break up with him, he's just gonna keep coming back.
Yeah,
it's fucking so desperate and shitty. Like,
that's terrible, dude.
Awful.
No doubt, man. No doubt. The bit with Frank kind of letting loose there to a degree, and then a little bit of the Frank and Carl relationship, it really reminded me a lot of, speaking of Frodo, it reminded me a lot of Radio Flyer. You guys remember that one at all? With Elijah Wood?
I know the movie, but I never saw it.
Oh, really? It's worth checking out, actually. It's a similar kind of thing, different approach. But it's similarly like it's just about a kid who's just, well, brothers in this case, who can't do anything to prevent a abusive father figure relationship. It's just such a dark theme here, but I just so appreciate that portrait thing of like seeing how Carl navigates it. I don't know, like there's the like hell yeah Frank when he throws the bottles, and then there's like what we were just talking about with Linda, where you're just like, I don't know, there's moments where you're like, does she actually still love the guy, or is she just biding her time because he's a piece of shit? And it's like, oh, actually, she really is just biding her time because he's a piece of shit. It's just, it's really fucked.
That's funny, man. And that movie came out right before this, and it had Elijah Wood and the kid from Jurassic Park was in it.
Yeah. And Lorraine Bracco. It's worth checking out for sure if you haven't seen it. It sounds like you probably haven't seen that one either, or maybe it's been a while. Benny.
No, sure.
Nah, sure.
Yeah, I think Lucas Black was really good.
Oh man, let's talk about Lucas Black for a minute, dude.
Kid in this.
I'm not familiar with him.
I had no idea he went on to be deep into the Fast and Furious scene.
Well, I was just gonna say,
I guess I knew who he was, but I didn't recognize that he was
cars on satellites.
The kid in.
Well, the two things. Here's the two things I'll say about that. Like the Fast and the Furious movies. Like I am impressed with the way I think like the first movie was so popular, and then they went into the second one, and then it was like the third one was kind of like way out in outer space, like Tokyo, whatever, with him in it. And I think like it was kind of going like in a nowhere direction, and then somebody like picked it back up and took it in a direction, and I like the way they sort of were able to retro-con him into the entirety of the sort of Fast and Furious saga. Like, I do appreciate that. And, like, when you guys make fun of me for liking Tokyo Drift, like, I get it. But, like, the real reason why I like it is Lucas Black. I just like watching him.
Sure.
He's just a great actor. And he's, like, I watched Billy Bob talk about him in an interview a while ago. And he's just kind of like, I don't know, just a super low-key guy, from what I gather. But, like, I really like him. And I like his performances, man. And, like,
killed it
him
here.
and Billy Bob did, yeah, he absolutely killed it here. And this is, like, his first thing. And, him and Billy Bob also did Friday Night Lights together. A lot of people talk about Friday Night Lights, the show, which I've watched. Not all of, but I watched, like, 2 seasons of it. And it was excellent, man. With Taylor Kitsch was fantastic in it. The same guy that was in John Carter of Mars. And nobody talks about Friday Night Lights, the movie, which was done by Peter Berg, who's like really legendary, man. Like he's such a great filmmaker. And Lucas Black was one of the main characters. He played Mike Winchell, and that's all based on a true story. And that's a fucking great movie, dude.
Yeah, cool. Probably seen it. I don't recall it, but yeah.
Yeah, All the Pretty Horses was really good too. He was still pretty young when he did that, and he's been in a bunch of shit.
I think this like child actor stuff, like so often, I don't know, child actors are pretty flat, but he just some of these scenes he had so much emotion, and it just like it leveled up the scenes so fucking much, man.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, he's excellent. He's so good in this, and
right.
Yeah, it was like I was driven to be like, oh, who is this kid? Like, have I seen him in anything recently?
Yeah,
and then I looked him up, and I was like, oh, that dude.
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah. That scene with Doyle yelling at them in particular, like where he comes to say sorry, I think. And he's like, I'm going to be around a lot more. And Frank, Lucas Black, he's just sitting on the couch kind of brooding. And you're like, okay, like if that's all he does, fine. But then like when Dwight leaves, either at that moment or leading just right up there, he like some tears start coming to his eyes. And you're just like, you totally fucking get that, like, I don't know, dread, terror, tension release, like all that shit. Like, you know, he could have just sat there brooding and it would have been fine. But the fact that he has that like tears in his eyes thing is just like, fuck, man. He really nailed the shit out of it.
You mean you're saying the scene at the secret place, the last time they meet?
No, it was the scene where Dwight is yelling at them after the baptism, I think. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't that one. It was the scene where Doyle is coming back to say sorry. He takes a break from his construction gig and he's saying sorry in the weirdest fucking way possible, and is basically like, I'm going to be around a lot. And you know, Lucas Black's character is just like not wanting the mom to forgive. So he's just sitting there like, don't forgive him, don't forgive him, don't forgive him, brooding. And then like, there's like an emotional release that he has there too. That he just smashes it out of the fucking park, man. It's kind of like roles where you see someone that there's like no talking, or like Judge Dredd where you only see the bottom half of his fucking face, and like what a person can do with just like super limited stuff. Yeah, I don't know. That one jumped out.
Yeah, no. There's a scene when the last scene with John Ritter, like, you know, John Ritter does the same thing. It's a similar thing.
Yeah,
with like a super
Carl,
tight close up of his face, and he says "I will," but he says it in this like he's just lost his breath kind of way because he's so full of emotion. It's like, it's fucking intense, dude.
No doubt.
But going back to Lucas Black, yes, you're right. He does really knock it out of the park, especially as like a totally like unexperienced kid actor. I
mean, he'd be closer to his emotions probably at that age, but like, who knows, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, shit. He was in, I totally forgot he was in Jarhead.
Yeah, that's
like
a good
Jake
flick.
Gyllenhaal.
Jakey.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal really kind of like, you know, it's like his movie, but he's really good in it. And I didn't realize he was on NCIS New Orleans for like 4 or 5 years. So there's that too. But anyway, I've always loved that kid since I saw this movie. I just really, really just enjoy him on screen. His performances, he's just got a way about him, dude. And he's like, he's a real Southern kid. He's from Alabama. He's never lost that accent. That accent is present in every fucking thing he does. And I love that about him, you know? And he's great.
100%.
Hey, what?
You mentioned Ritter, dude. Like, can we talk Ritter? How much I love fucking seeing Ritter.
So weird, dude. I just can't believe he's gone. I just watched Bad Santa recently. I don't know why, because it was Christmas. That's why. So I watched Bad Santa one day, and that was like one of the last things he did. And I don't know why, but it really warms my heart that Billy Bob Thornton and him were like really good friends.
Bros.
And they became really good friends. Yeah, on there was a sitcom called Hearts of Fire.
Yeah,
it had Marky Post was in it from Night Court. Penn, you probably remember her.
Marky Post.
Yeah, exactly. I know you remember her.
Dude, I love
because we all had a crush
Court.
on her, dude. Right? Night Court was really funny, man. But Marky Post was in this show, Hearts of Fire, and Ritter was in it with Billy Bob. And that's where they met and became such close friends. And I don't know why that warms my heart, but it just does, man. Because I think, like, just talking about Billy Bob for a minute, like, he just seems like he's operating on his own, like, light wave, you know? Like, he just kind of, I mean, he's like an absolute undisputed, like, superstar, but he doesn't feel like a lot of those other plasticky Hollywood superstars, you know? He doesn't feel untouchable. He feels like if I went up to the gas station right now to get smokes and he was in there getting smokes, he'd be like, oh yeah, let's go have a drink. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
He just seems like that real of a person, you know? So I don't know. I think that's part of his appeal in general, you know, is like this sort of accessibility maybe. I don't know.
But he was just so beloved from Three's Company.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And I'm glad that, like, you know, he put, I think I was looping back to, I'm glad he put Ritter in this movie, dude, because without him, we wouldn't have Ritter in the movie. And Ritter is like great, and he's great in Bad Santa. And I don't know, I'm so pissed he's gone. He was so goddamn brilliant, dude. Three's Company was just so fucking awesome and stupid and farcical in a cool way, and like I don't know, he's just so damn good in this movie, dude. Plays a tortured sort of soul, very similar to Carl. You know, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling. Somebody else talk about John Ritter and why it's great. Sorry.
I like how tied up in his own shit he is, though. Like the character,
Who, Vaughn?
Yeah, or he's just like,
yeah,
I want to talk to you, and you think he's going to talk to him about Carl, but he's actually like, I'm gay. He's just like, did you hear the news? He's gay. It's like, I don't care, dude. You know, like, it's just so funny.
It's at that moment, the moment at the dinner where he's like, I don't know, maybe it's the wine talking, but I just want everybody to know.
Yeah.
And he follows it immediately. He's like, I care about all of you. Also, don't talk about the fact that, you know, my boyfriend's here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
By the way,
and she's like, everybody knows.
She was so funny, dude. Oh, she was great.
Oh man! Again, the way she talks, the accent, her accent and the way she talks is so goddamn funny, dude.
It's so funny.
It's the only time I don't like pricing items or when my feet hurt.
She's like obsessed with her feet.
So and like just the people sitting at the table are all like, she is so fucking dumb. Like, you know, like that's what's going through their heads.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Blister sure can hurt.
But it's so cute, dude. Oh my God.
It's so good scene. I never saw how cute that scene was
so
until
adorable.
this time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so adorable, dude.
But they're doing that now. Like, can we just have a quick segue into the fact that I don't know if it's over there or whether it's just we're really fucked up over here, but there's like reality shows now where they're like, we're going to take a bunch of Down syndrome people and have them date each other. And you're like, wait, what? Have you seen any of that shit?
Not over here.
Yeah, I don't watch any of it, but you'll see like an ad, but it's like legit like a season of TV where they take like the whole premise is like, let's fucking, you know, it's like Down to Date, you know, or some horrible fucking name, you know, where it's like all people with Down syndrome.
What?
That's
seriously,
poor, man.
No.
There was
that is so poor.
Love on the Spectrum is one
poor.
where it's like all people that are on the spectrum. Like I'm sure like people have told me about it, like, you know, that it's really heartwarming or nice or whatever. And like, cool. I'm sure it is, but I just think it's so weird that it's a thing.
I mean,
you know, it's like you want everybody to be able to find love, but like,
sure,
you don't want to see it
doesn't
like
on TV
sensationalized.
Exactly.
You know, like,
that's the first thing I thought of.
not because I have a problem with like the idea,
but it's the
of,
exploitation of it, you know, as opposed to the idea of it.
Yeah, it's like it's patronizing and exploitative.
Thank you.
It's
patronizing.
Yeah,
I mean, when I watch,
that's what I object to.
Yeah.
If I watch something like, and let me be clear here, before I move forward, I don't watch this shit. But like, you know, I've seen bits and pieces of like these shows like this over the years, like The Bachelor and
shit,
this thing and that thing. And it's like, you know, because you're like morbidly curious and you're like, what the fuck is this really about? And it's like, you know, it's like, it is. It's like patronizing and it's exploitative and all this sort of thing. But it's like, well, you're the dumb fuck that signed up for it. But when you start talking about people that are on the spectrum or have Down syndrome, that just sounds like straight up exploitation, man.
Totally.
And, I mean, I guess
I have to assume
sure,
that they're
people are
coming
saying
at
it's
it
heartwarming
from a positive side. Otherwise, they'd get yelled at by everyone in the world. But it doesn't make it any more acceptable.
Yeah, I hope so. But even still, it feels exploitative, man. Like, I don't know. My immediate reaction is like a big fat cringe.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, I don't know, man.
As opposed to this scene
Not
and
feeling
sequence, which is just like, I don't know. It's so adorable. I love the scene where like she brings in the flowers. Like it was on sale $2.99. You know, like I'm going Forrest Gump here, but like, and then the guys were
because these aren't fresh.
I love that fucking Bill Cox is like, let's go across the street, Scooter. We're gonna get some food. And Scooter's like, nah, I'll stay here. He's like, come on, motherfucker.
Yeah, after they sit there and gawk for like 2 minutes, you know, it's like I just remember like get the fuck out of there, guys. Jesus Christ,
Give him some space.
It's like he almost lets her go, and then he's like, "Oh, we saw flowers with Purdy."
Yeah,
yeah, dude, it's great. Me too.
And then it's really touching when she walks out, and I didn't notice this until the second watch that I did today. Like when she walks out and then he lifts up the board on the counter and walks through, still holding the flowers, and he walks up to the window and he watches her, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so simple and sweet, you know. It's really, really great.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh boy. What we got here? Unexpected error. Okay, fuck you. What's up?
Unexpected error. I just put up a link to Hero at Large. It's a John Ritter movie from 1980. I figured it might be interesting to cover.
Superhero outfit. A struggling actor buying milk stops a robbery while wearing a superhero uniform promoting a movie. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I presume it's a comedy.
Looks like it could be.
Anne Archer. She sounds familiar. Holy shit. John Ritter in an alternate Marvel Cinematic Universe, dude. You could totally see it. They came out with a trailer for the new Fantastic Four the other day. It looks very homely. Yeah, it looks, I mean, homely. It's very like old school, like golden age, positive.
Yeah, I was like, and then when I found out that it was going to take place in the 60s.
Yeah, I'm down, dude. I'm
like,
down.
Oh, okay. That seems interesting.
Yeah. Moving away from the stupid shit.
Like, I love Pedro Pascal. I really do, but I just like
Getting a little overused.
overused, man.
He's getting a lot of work.
I'm happy for him.
I am too.
But it's like as much as I love him, I'm starting to feel a little overwhelmed, and that's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
You know? That's like the bubble is about to pop.
Well, the other thing, part of it too, Ben, that I think goes hand in hand with that, it's like, please don't make me hate this fucking guy because I love him, man. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to hate this guy because I'm like fatigued with, you know, because he's in everything. Like that started happening with Oscar Isaac, man. And I was like, come on.
That's fair.
You know, there's other actors out there, you know, that are capable. It's like you got to switch it up a little bit, dude. And it's like they just They've got a battering ram, and they will use it with anything and anybody. Apparently,
I feel like Giancarlo Esposito is another one of
hell
those
yeah.
ones.
Yeah,
where it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, okay, like are you actually going to just get this guy to play the bad guy in every fucking TV show and movie? Like,
yeah, I know. I feel you're spot
he's
on.
excellent. I love him,
Spot
but
on.
you know, like it's just.
Well, let's see. We got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started with Gus Fring, and then it went to where? Like everything. He was Moff Gideon, and
Gideon, and then he was the dude
in The Boys.
The Boys, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? I'm sure there's like at least
probably 50 other fucking things these days.
2-3 other things.
Lots of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, he was great too, man. I love that guy, but I don't want to hate that dude either.
No, I feel like a lot of they're basically picking from 4 or 5 different guys all the time now.
Yeah.
Or feels that way anyway.
He's the new Captain America.
Well, because it's like they're just so hyper focused on they just don't get it. They still don't get it. Like they don't understand how to balance artistic with financial.
But they don't want to. I think it's exactly what you said about the pop music thing, where it's like they found the algorithm that works and then they don't care about the art anymore. You know,
yeah,
I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they've kind of always done that, right?
Kind of.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's just a hole. Like, there's just not a lot of people that can do a role like Reed Richards. I don't know. It seems silly to me.
I got to be honest with you, man. He doesn't. Sorry to cut you off, Ben, but like Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards. I'm not really feeling that, dude.
Yeah.
You know.
No.
What's Emily Blunt's husband's
I was
name?
feeling John Krasinski way more.
Yeah, exactly.
You
John
know, and
Krasinski.
when Yoan Grufford did it back in the early 2000s, I loved him. I was like, he looks the part. He's like solid.
I think John Krasinski would have done great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want like the, my idea of Reed Richards is like the caricature of Reed Richards, Dr. Impossible, from Venture Brothers. Like I want like a super Whitey Whiterson white guy who smokes a pipe and, still has like the dog fetches slippers or what,
totally.
like that kind of like that, like 50s, not, it doesn't have to be white, but like that that's like my idea of Reed Richardson, you know, and not that anybody else couldn't play him, but like that's just like
no, I agree.
I feel like there's something about that aspect of the character that's important.
Yeah. I agree. You know? I agree with that 100%. Like there's like, you know, in all of these conversations about underrepresentation and all this sort of thing, like I am with it 100%. And there's plenty of that has happened. But there are certain situations, man, where I don't want to see a white guy playing a Latino. And I don't want to see the converse either, because it's just not right for the character. You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes lately they're trying to make that fit, and it's like that doesn't fit. Please don't do that. You know what I mean? Like you're being inauthentic to the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be stupendous. Yeah, but you know, that's just like I love him. I feel like he's dangerously close to being overused, and you know, like I wanted to see like a Krasinski or somebody like that. You know, somebody that can just be like a dorky. Yeah, because there's something about the character that, you know, really connects to that, like dorky white guyness. Yeah, you know, like
I agree. I feel like Pedro captures the lovableness of the character, like, but not what you're saying, not the dorkiness. Maybe he can, but
and I mean, you can just chalk it up to straight up, like, you know, we've talked about it on this movie, like this was a poor casting choice,
potentially,
you know, or
nothing against the person.
This person was misused or miscast, you know.
Sure.
Certainly those things happen, you know.
I feel like I'm dangerously close to sticking my foot in my mouth here, but
I don't think so.
I
got your back.
Yeah. I don't need my back gotten per se. I just I'm not saying anything bad. You're
not. I agree with you 100%.
It could be misconstrued.
Sure.
It could be. But
if you're misconstruing it, please don't.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, if you think about like Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, like Pedro Pascal in Unbearable Weight is very like, I don't know, he's very lovable. You know, you're just like, oh, that's so adorable that he loves Nicolas Cage, and then they're buds and they like hang out in their car, and like I could see how you would want to bring that vibe to the Fantastic Four, but that's not the vibe, you know? It's the like...
It is not the vibe at all, no.
Yeah, it's just not it. And maybe he doesn't bring that. Maybe it was some studio bullshit, you know, wanting that particular vibe or whatever.
Too much of a
he's
nerd.
The hot thing now or whatever. Who gives a fuck? But I totally agree.
I guess what I'm saying is that like the you know, whatever the whiteness of the character of Reed Richards is, it's not like... It's like a stereotypically not good thing about being a white guy. You know what I mean? Like it's
not a power thing. It's
like
a fucking
that
dorky
aspect. Yeah, exactly. It's like precisely.
Yeah. It's all of the uncoolness of being a nerdy white dude.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
But I guess as long as you bring the nerdy goofiness, you know,
it's not the whiteness you're saying. It's the uncool nerdiness that is synonymous with that.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll see. I mean, I'll check it out. I'm so fucking tired of comic book shit, but I'll totally check it out. Nice to see something a little bit different, hopefully. Tired of the end of the universe, multiverse-y, space Hitler-y, stupid shit. I'm so over the multiverse shit.
I'm just the fact that it's going to take place in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
kind of like Incredibles-ish, you know, like I really like the Incredibles for some reason.
No, it's refreshing. I wanted to
like we're going to just drop everything and do something different here. Yeah.
Well, it's like I'm so sick of focusing on the beast that is like all these connected threads, you know.
Yeah.
Like now it's just like, ugh, God.
No, and that's not to say that all of it's bad.
No, it's
some of it's
not.
great,
Yep.
but a lot of it is, you know, kind of unmemorable.
Yeah, unmemorable is a good way to put it.
Just by dint of there being so fucking much of it. You know?
I'm glad you guys told me about Loki because that was absolutely wonderful.
That was a good example.
Really, really great.
Yeah, Loki was excellent.
You know, like it's like that and like Deadpool and Wolverine, but you know, not a whole lot else. Like I mean, even the new Captain America is not really blowing my skirt up.
Shit about it.
I just don't care. I'm not interested in seeing that, and I don't like. I like Mackie, and I like all that.
Mackie's
you
fun.
know, but like,
Yeah,
like,
I love Anthony Mackie. I love Falcon. I'm not sure why he needs Captain America's shield.
No,
like,
Falcon America.
It seems like a hindrance, really.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
When I was listening to our I'm Sorry You're Welcome, we talked about it.
He doesn't have like the serum or anything.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like,
How does that
it's
work?
like you just,
Yeah.
It doesn't.
You're-
Like we
you're-
had
you're just
literally had
made
this
into,
conversation
like-
in I'm Sorry You're Welcome. Exactly the same one.
Did we?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think
we
you
did.
literally said, "How does this work?" This is like we were just joking about how it's like the Falcon flies around with Cap's shield just stuck to his back, doing nothing because that's basically it. You know?
Right. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We really had talked about that?
Yep.
Holy
Yeah.
shit, that's funny.
You were talking about your Falcon America build in City of Heroes. And how I
Character.
was like,
Yeah,
dude, you
yeah,
just
yeah.
made
I still have
Falcon,
that.
and you get all upset. It was really funny.
Yeah, right. Falcon America, dude. Totally. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, it's like flies, shoots like micro missiles and,
Yep.
like has all this armament
Mm.
and now is basically just forced to carry
Yep,
a shield
has a
around
flag
everywhere
on
so
his
he can
lapel.
be a
That's it.
figurehead. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. The character
Cool,
is
man.
like, when you think about the Falcon, it's like he's cool because with his mastery of the technology that he has,
Mhm.
he's effective and he's cool and he's an effective warfighter, or hero or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's cool. It works. You know what I mean? It's like, then you give him the shield and it's like, all right, so now he's supposed to pretend to be Captain America as well. Like,
Yeah, it feels like a burden more than like
exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, can you carry this car around while you're flying and do all that other shit?
Let me carry this really unaerodynamic fucking thing around all the time that I don't have the super strength to throw.
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
Didn't you play Ultimate Frisbee back in the day? Here, take this.
yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, he's just a different,
Hey, we
Cap
need,
is like
we need a fourth
like
for
he's-
Frolf.
he's given.
Dude, Falcon playing Frisbee
Sorry,
golf with
Ben.
that would be amazing.
Sorry, buddy. Go. Keep going.
No, I was just saying like Cap is given like super strength through like a super serum.
Yeah.
Like he's got super strength and agility, etc. So it makes sense for him to have that.
Right.
But like Falcon is like he's like mastered this technology and is like tactically brilliant and like uses tools to like make this shit happen. He's not the same as
No.
whereas Cap is like, I don't know.
No. It's science versus technology too. I
Yeah.
mean, like, my God, like he uses the wings as shields and
It's
he's
like
got
making a
gadgets and
Tony
little
Stark.
missiles
Yeah.
and the remote.
He's already
and,
got
yeah,
like
it's
a
fucking-
great suite of
Exactly,
shit.
right.
Like it just seems like he could be Captain America, but it's like it's like I don't know, like melt the shield down and make him some new wings that are made out of like that.
Adamantium or some shit.
That's
yeah.
actually not a
vibranium or
bad
whatever,
idea,
It's
dude.
like,
Good idea.
exactly. Like it's like fucking pointless at that. Like it's like a paperweight. Like
Yeah. And while I appreciate them kind
or
of,
make him some dope chest armor or something out of it. Whatever.
yeah,
like
there you go. Make a shirt of mithril, vibranium mithril. What?
This is where you bring the armor in from Mando.
Yeah, there you go.
You liked her
yeah,
voice.
exactly.
What would she say, Cap?
Oh,
You
the
got this.
armor.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
I see you want new wings.
The mythosaur is always good for a pauldron. Yes.
I can't believe that like fucking Harrison Ford is gonna be the bad guy, the president that turns into Red Hulk or whatever. It's like,
I
what
know,
the
I'm
fuck
kinda
crack
like,
are you
what?
motherfuckers smoking? Dude?
I know.
Like, what the actual fuck, dude?
I know. I feel that too, man.
So
I kind of was
funny.
like, wait, what? And now he's Thunderbolt Ross. It's like, wait a second. Wait, why are you like, this is like the second time he's done this, at least the second time I can think of. Because like Alec Baldwin started the whole Jack Ryan thing and Red October was just huge. And then Harrison Ford was like, well, I didn't mean that I wouldn't ever do the part. I just meant that movie.
That
and then he
particular one.
takes the role over, and it's like, now he's like taking over this.
I love it.
But I mean, honestly, like if I was William Hurt, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. William Hurt's being like fucking Phil from Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to do this movie, but I'm not going to.
Well, he can't.
Yeah, exactly.
He died?
He's dead, man.
William Hurt died?
That wouldn't stop anybody.
Yeah.
Wait, what the fuck? William Hurt died?
Yeah.
How did I fucking miss that? Or did I?
But the funniest thing about that is that, like, you not knowing William Hurt died doesn't change the fact that Marvel would just, like, fucking CGI his face onto Red Hulk. You know what I mean? Like, they would have no problem doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's
what they're doing with Harrison Ford, who's, you know, halfway fucking dead at this stage. He's getting fucking up there.
I mean,
oh, shit. He did die. Wow. How did I miss that? That's
bro.
weird. We must have done an episode about a movie that he did.
It's a bummer.
Harrison Ford addresses replacing William Hurt for
Okay,
Captain
all right. Well, that's
World.
different. That's different.
2022.
Wow. Okay. 1950. Holy shit, he was 72.
Prostate cancer. It's a shame.
That is a shame. He was great. Last thing I saw him in was Goliath with Billy Bob. Speaking of Billy Bob.
There you go.
And God
Nice
damn,
segue.
that was good, man. Poof. So good. All right, what else about this movie
Bits
have
and
we not
bobs?
talked about?
Yeah, bits and bobs. Mickey Jones. Did we talk about Mickey Jones yet?
Got started late for sure.
Who's Mickey Jones?
The beardy dude who was in the band.
Beardy dude? No, go ahead and talk about Mickey Jones.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just super visually memorable. I feel like he's
been in
been
a
in every
million
movie I've ever
movies.
seen. He was the
Let me
miner
just
in
take a-
Total
let me
Recall. He's in Vacation. Starman.
Oh, the miner on the train that was like, yeah, until they found all that weird
Like
alien
her.
shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy?
And
Yeah.
Starman, he was like can't get her out of there, buddy, huh? And it's like, Gus.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
I don't know how she feels.
Yeah, wasn't he Benny, wasn't he Ironside's like right-hand guy in V the miniseries and V the series?
Yes, he was.
Thank you.
There you go.
I knew it. I fucking knew that shit.
I'll be right back.
Go.
See, you knew him.
Wow, Mickey Jones. Yeah, I knew it was. I had a feeling that was him, but I was like, am I not remembering correctly? Or I love it. It says he was known for Total Recall, dude. That was like the smallest part. Ever.
line, right?
Literally one line on the
I don't know. He's
Burly
great.
Miner. He didn't even have a name. Burly Miner.
No, his name was Burley.
Oh, he was the mechanic in Vacation. Totally. This is great. Yeah, I remember all this stuff.
So shout out to old Mickey Jones.
Oh, Mickey
He
Jones.
did too.
He did too. Died 20.
Yeah, bits and bobs, man. What do you got? You got any bits?
Let's see. Bits and bobs. What does old Mulvey have in his what does Mulvey have in his man pouch? So many things. I don't know. I really like the way the way everybody talks in this movie. That dialect I really like a lot. That not dialect isn't the right word, but sort of is, I guess.
How about that joke?
Oh, God damn it. Yes. That was so good. And when he retells that joke and tries to
"Well,
lay that out, you know,
that's a good one."
She's like, no, she goes, I'll be dog, which is like one of those Southern sayings. You know, I haven't heard that in a while.
That's great.
There were these two fellers that go into bathroom.
Well,
And then
One said water's cold. Other said water's deep.
get it?
I reckon one of them fellers from Arkansas. Get it?
Yeah, that's good. That is
That's a
good
good
part.
bit.
Yeah, really good bit.
The pecker and the tinned meat was good too.
That was great.
Yeah, and a great, just to throw a little sort of nuggety bob in there, that scene was Billy Bob improvised a little bit there and did something that made Lucas Black laugh. And they ended up keeping it in the movie because it worked so well. And I really like that.
Yeah,
It's got a
that he ad libbed
Yeah.
the thing where he found one. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and it had it gave it a really candid quality.
It really
too.
did,
was
yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
You ought not say that. And then, like, after he's like, well, I reckon I do see one.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
great. Yeah.
Chicken Champ.
I saw this is kind of a nuggety Bob, but like I saw maybe it was in an interview or something, but I guess the reason that Carl had mustard on his ketchup, on his fries is because Billy Bob didn't want anything warm colored in the scene from a cinematography point of view, so that's why it didn't use ketchup. So it's interesting that it was like a technical choice as opposed to like a character choice.
Wow, that is weird. Yeah, and then anybody extended it to the biscuits as well.
Yeah.
Weird.
I liked him being like, you can fix me some biscuits, like 11 o'clock at night or whatever.
Yeah.
Reckon you can fix some biscuits.
Like a day later, she's like, and Carl's going to get some more biscuits. And he goes, I could sure use some. Fucking always makes me laugh, dude. You know what? I really don't have any bits and bobs. I kind of...
Yeah, you already did them.
So many,
did a lot of them,
yeah, so many things that I just love. I mean, I will say that I love that he got Duvall in this movie. We haven't really
hell yeah.
even mentioned that, and he knew him, and he did a bit. Like they did like a swap, like they were doing each other a solid. Apparently, I read this somewhere, and he had done Duvall had asked him to do a little bit in this movie that he did called The Apostle. And it was sort of like, you know, returning the favor for that. So he played the dad, and it's pretty cool.
Duvall was great.
And that's why Duvall is so cool. And like that scene is so fucked up, and he's good, and he's so weird in it. And it's like that was another part where I was just like, dude, is he gonna just fucking kill this dude? Like I thought he was gonna kill him.
But I liked that Carl reached out to him. Was like, I reckon I can mow your lawn. And he's just like, fuck you. And he's like, well, you shouldn't have killed my brother, you piece of shit. Like, I just like that he was willing to give his dad a shot there instead of just being like, fuck you. Like, that was great. And then when the dad was being an ass, he's like, all right, well, fuck you then, you know?
Yeah, he was.
And that's pretty much it. I think it would be maybe like the last bit in Bob is like a shout out to that last scene, you know, in the secret spot, saying goodbyes and stuff. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but And even the Ritter scene too, like you said earlier too, Kev, where just that, like, you know, he lives in his heart and it's really big. Like it just really packed an emotional punch, those couple of scenes.
Yeah, big time.
Like it's all really clear what's going to happen, and it doesn't matter that you know what's going to happen. Like it's not the point isn't like figuring out the fucking twist. It's just, it's that portrait of Carl. I saw a lot of, you know, dumb fucks on IMDb complaining about how predictable it was. And it's like, it's not about fucking being an M. Night Shyamalan movie where there's a twist that you don't see coming. It's not the point at all.
No, it's not. No.
The matter of factness about the lawnmower blade was interesting. I really kind of appreciated that Carl, like,
why?
Well, it's not a fit of rage. He's just like, got to do this thing. And then he just fucking 1-2s him, and it's not dramatic. It's not hyper violent. It's not anything other than like, this was what needs to be done. So I'm going to do it. And then just gets on the horn and he's like, I killed him. How did you do it? He's like, well, I hit him one time and then I hit him a second time. You know, you're like, okay, dude.
Right.
Sits down and eats
I'm sure of it, ma'am. That second hit plumb there cut his head in two.
Yeah, that was kind of fucked up.
I don't know. I really appreciate that he's just like, I think this needs to be done. I'm going to do it. Matter of factness. It's not rage. He never snaps. It's just does the thing he thinks needs doing, you know, which regardless of the morality of it, it's interesting.
Well, that's what's cool about the movie, man, is that he just kind of, he does what
he sees as the right thing.
Right. Yeah. Even though he is very much like, you can tell he's contemplated the Bible quite a bit.
Well, it's Minority Report, like, dude, you know, like he's making a decision that is morally not right for what he thinks is a justifiable reason, you know?
Right. And he's also like sort of taking one for the team, as I always think.
And it's wrong. It's Minority Report. It's fucking wrong. But you empathize or you sympathize with the decision. I don't know. He's trying to save another version of himself. You know, he's like, I can sacrifice. It's essentially like a form of martyrdom. He's like, I can fucking go and sit next to creepy McRapeface for the rest of my life and solve this kid's problem.
Right.
Or I could just fucking walk away and let this shit happen.
Creepy McRapeface.
Like I was such a fucking creeper.
Yeah, that he is.
Oh, and it's not even a giant sacrifice for him because he kind of wants to go back there anyways, you know.
as he indicated in the beginning. Yeah, 100%.
It's the simplicity of it.
So it's it's just I can save this kid, and I'll just go back to, and you'd said initially that he doesn't change, but I feel like he definitely does, because he gains a kind of a
greater
more agency, and he learns a little bit to stick up for himself, Like, he seemed completely apathetic before, just didn't care,
Yeah.
Now he's like
institutionalized.
At the end he's like, "Don't you say nothing about that boy?
Yeah,
Mind your business. Don't say anything to me either."
Yeah, I really like that one. I really like that there's some closure with that guy.
He's not just standing up for himself. He's standing up for his sort of boundaries,
His beliefs,
right?
yeah.
And
Sure.
his sort of moral code, and compass, like with the kid, like when he says to Dwight. Fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he says, Master, don't you know, let him, no, Jesus Christ. That was a death. Mister, don't you never lay another hand on that boy. You understand me? So,
Yeah, like his relationship with Frank, like, brings a side of him out that you suspect was there, but maybe was just dormant, or apathetic, or yeah.
Well, he gets the experience of some attention with the lady with the flowers and some, care from the mother and Frank. So yeah, there's that life experience that probably changes things for him a little bit.
sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, he meets, it's sad because you wish he could stay with this group of people that care about him,
including the boss. Like, they all kind of take him under their wing.
Yeah.
God, I love Bill Cox, dude. Totally.
He's great. Yeah.
And just a quick shit, since we're technically in bits and bobs, like a shout out to Jerry Woolridge, the dad from Teen Wolf.
Totally.
Wow.
Shouty
Yeah.
outy.
Who's probably also dead.
They're all something dead. I have not seen in a long time.
He just died 2 years ago, man. 3 years ago. I know. I haven't either.
No, he was great in this. I like that he kind of kept coming too, and like came and checked in on him and stuff. There was some conversations also super coincidentally. Like, I was telling, I think Ethan, my kid Ethan, for those that don't know, he was asking me about King Kong, so I told him the story of King Kong, like, over breakfast one day, and so both him and Hannah were like, interested in the idea of King Kong being, a monster that was scared in a place outside of the jungle, so does stuff that freaks out the people, and then they therefore kill him. The whole, like, the misunderstood being scary and therefore kill the thing. And then I was like, well, it's also Frankenstein, and we were talking about Frankenstein, same kind of idea. And then watching this, it's like it kind of has Frankenstein-y vibes a little bit of, like, the misunderstood person is misunderstood and feared but shouldn't be. It's different, obviously. Sure. But then some people were saying, like, Boo Radley from To Kill a Mockingbird, similar.
Yeah.
Which I definitely see, like, the connections. But what I liked about, Carl is that he wasn't Boo Radley, like, superhuman strength kind of dude. Like, I liked the scene where Carl and Frank are talking, and Lucas Black is like, I wish he could die or whatever. You should do something. And Carl's just like, I reckon he's stronger than me, man. He's going to kick my ass, as opposed to him just having that super strength,
Say he's stronger. He says he's meaner.
Well, there you go. Yeah, sure. But he still does catch the hand. Yeah.
He just whipped the tar out of me.
But he's willing to get the tar whipped out of him, like at that scene where he catches Doyle's hand and it's like, don't fucking touch him.
Sure.
And then just again, that scene with the lawnmower blade where, like, Doyle's just sitting there half drunk with a newspaper, just like, whoa, what the fuck do you want? Like, I want to kill you. He just sits there, he's like, all right, then. Okay.
What are you doing with that lawnmower blade?
Yeah.
I aim to kill you with it.
Yeah, better call Hearst.
That's a pretty dark scene, yeah.
Super dark, but perfect. Like, I don't think, like, a huge gory scene is... I think it would have detracted in a major way.
It's not required. I agree. It would have totally detracted from it, man.
The sound effects are enough.
Sure.
Yeah, the sound effects are good.
Sure.
Big solid chunk of metal crashing through bone. Yeah. It was plenty well
done. And the Carl.
done.
Oh, that's probably the one that you were actually going at for the fourth one is the last word that Doyle says is Carl.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
That's it.
which I actually didn't pick up on until you were searching for that fourth.
Yep, I'll tell you what.
Any other bits or bobs, or are we into nugs?
No,
Let's bring it on home.
let's nug
Rash it
I
and
don't
crash it, man.
I don't really feel like there's much in the
nugs.
nug department.
I
other
had
than,
a lot. I dropped them all. Go ahead. Sorry, Chad.
Well, yeah, other than just like I didn't know Billy Bob's history, and he in one of I think he was with there's an interview with him on an old episode of Conan from the 90s.
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
Where he was saying that like his favorite food as a kid was squirrel, and Conan's like, wait, what? He's like, what does squirrel taste like? You know, so like Billy Bob, obviously assuming that this is true, which I have to assume it is like he fucking grew up pretty goddamn hard, and so I like that. I don't know. It's like that makes sense as to why this movie had so much heart, is because it was coming from shit he knew deeply, and I just really resonated with the depth of this flick. Like he clearly knew what he was writing about, right? What you know.
Definitely.
And it's kind of wild that he had such a hard upbringing.
No, I agree.
Makes me kind of want to see a lot of his other shit, because I'm familiar with him from like the kind of like Armageddon, Angelina Jolie, fucking tabloid bullshit.
Fuck all
days,
that, dude. That's
well, I know,
bullshit.
but like I'm just not super duper aware of him,
I know. Go watch Goliath on Prime. It's fucking good. I'm gonna start watching The Landmen on Paramount here in a minute. Probably tonight.
I've always
actually,
liked him, but
I've
never really seen a lot.
I'm hyped on Billy Bob right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so also he says "all right" then 19 times in the movie. I could swear it's like 100, but it's apparently 19. And then the only other nugget I have is that I haven't mentioned is, and this is crazy, dude, and brilliant, to make his walk more awkward and consistent. He put crushed glass in his shoes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But when you look at it, the way he's walking, like I spent so much time focusing on the way he was walking after I read that.
He had a crazy walk.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
I have a mini ejection where I was looking at Billy Bob, and I forgot he was Jigo in the English version of Mononoke, Princess Mononoke. He's like the little short dude that's with Lady Eboshi.
Yeah.
No other nugs.
Okay. Deaths. I only have 3 recorded, one of which I just did. So I got your mini ejection on Billy Bob Thornton. I have your other ejection on the composer, and then I have the Carl impression crash out that I just did. Was there anything else?
Light on the deaths.
It is a little light.
That's all right. Can't win them all.
All right. Recommendations, I think, are pretty obvious.
Yeah, it sounds like it's both. If you've never seen it, see it. And if you have, it's worth a rewatch. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is a legendary movie, like we talked about this last week with Groundhog Day, but this is definitely in my like top something of all
top tier.
time. Top 20. Yeah. It's like my top 20 of all time. I've seen this movie as much as Groundhog Day. I absolutely love it. Go see it. Next contestant.
I concur.
I agree. Although I will say this might be a legendary movie for me. I don't know.
I like it.
It's there's something about it.
Well, it's worthy, dude. That's for damn sure.
That for me was there at the right time in the right place to sort of just be pivotal.
That makes sense.
Especially, or at least in terms of like the quotability of it and sort of the,
how it's like it weaved its way into your like everyday lexicon.
Yeah, and how when it came out, like it was sort of like the lexicon of the moment too. Like it wasn't just me. Like it was, everybody was sort of on that train. Anyways,
totally.
Yeah.
And I missed the shit out of that train, and it's nice to be able to jump on board now.
Hey, you whippersnapper.
You had a really good I really enjoyed listening to your reactions to the movie and how passionately you talked about it. So you seem to really connect with it.
No, it hit in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I'm partly saying that too, because like we've all been on the side of like the two of us have watched a movie and it's got a lot of nostalgic value, and like the other one
doesn't go anywhere.
Watch it when it came out, but watched it, like now as an adult, and it's always great. I think when that odd man out is able to connect with it,
sees the good. Yeah,
from a current watch, Yeah, so that always makes me happy.
Yeah, totally.
Chad is a quick sidebar. I'm not seeing Groundhog Day in my feed on Pocket Casts.
Oh, weird. I'll check it.
Did it go?
It is not. It has
it
not
go up?
dropped.
Let me check it.
Chrissy Snaps was
Saying the same.
Well, I guess
Chrissy Snaps was
our-
like, "What the fuck?
Where's my
Where's the
episode?
podcast?"
the real gauge is
This is whether Snaps has
It's
it. Yeah,
Chris.
I don't know.
First off the dock.
So it's not on YouTube. It's not
All right, let me check. I might have just not
anywhere.
posted.
I'm curious. Like, does she get up at 5 and like to check
No.
if the shit dropped? Because it drops at 5 o'clock, and then go in and like wrestle you and razz you and harangue you if it's not there.
No, but when we do get up, if it's not there, she'll be like, "Hey, like,
Dude, what the
my favorite
fuck?
podcast to listen to on Friday hasn't uploaded yet." I'm like,
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
dude.
Like, well, I don't know. The guys were fucking chatting on WhatsApp, so
Yeah,
like,
don't know what's going on. All right, let me check.
they're
I
on
must have
top
been
of it.
something.
It'll show up eventually.
You got to just be like, yeah, that's not my department.
I'll take that up the chain.
It's not.
That is also kind of what I say. But,
Yeah,
like,
it's
well,
not-
let
hey,
me know.
Look.
Let
I'm
me
gonna
know
say-
it doesn't happen,
listen,
and I'll let them know,
listen.
because like ultimately, like it's one easy way for us to know, like if it doesn't.
Yeah, if there's a
land
problem.
in
Yeah,
the
totally.
world
Not super
for-
helpful.
for whatever technical difficulty happened.
Yeah.
I got sidetracked and I never bugged you guys about it today, but
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
I did know that.
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
right.
Listen, I
I'll
hate.
look.
You keep asking me this. I'm gonna say it again. That's not my department. Okay, that's not what I do here. You're gonna have to go through the regular channels. The email is. That's funny. Okay. Let me wrap this up. Slave 2. What are we doing next week?
Next week is a twofer. Kev's not around, so we're going to do something really crazy, terrible, culty, bullshitty. We're going to do Cherry 2000.
There you have it, folks. Wow. Well, have fun with that, boys.
And I imagine it won't hold up at all.
Cherry
but
2000,
I hope it
featuring
does.
Melanie Griffith.
Right?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
We can see why Banderas was so into her.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very fond memory of that movie. That was a Hey Beastmaster and a half for me, dude.
Hey, Beastmaster and a half.
It is a, it's like post-apocalyptic or
Barbarella-esque.
ish.
Mm. Yeah.
It'll actually be our 53rd Brian James movie,
Nice.
which I'm pretty excited about.
That's cool.
It'll be good. That's it. That's what's next.
All right. Well, there you have it,
All right.
folks. Cherry
Ah, dude,
2000
Larry
next week.
Fish.
Yeah, Larry Fish.
Yeah,
Tim
dude.
Turner.
Homerson. Holy shit.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, there you
Yes.
have it, folks. Cherry 2000 next week. I won't be here. It'll just be Ben and Chad. And thanks for joining us for the legendary Sling Blade. We finally did it, and Chad finally got to see it. And that's
Some
it.
people call it a Kaiser Blade.
That's right. They do.
Some folks call it a Kaiser Blade. We here at EBD Podcast call it a Sling Blade.
Yes. And I'll just I'll sign off with a all right, Dan.
All right, Dan. See you later.
And that's going to wrap up this week's episode, folks. If you would like to check out the show notes for this episode, you can do so in your podcast app of choice or on our website, ebd.fm/forward/290. Wow, 290. We're almost on 300. Holy moly.
Time flies.
Isn't that exciting? As we always do at the end of the show, we would like to take a few moments and thank everybody for listening to the show. Thank you so much. And thank you, all those people that have supported us in these various different ways, from giving us money on Patreon to, reviewing us, and also just spreading the word organically. Really appreciate that. All this stuff's really effective. And there you have it. For anybody that's looking to support the show, those are the 3 ways that you can do it. Support us on Patreon, give us a review, tell people to check out the show. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, please do. We're on Instagram at EBD Podcast. And that's it. Thanks for joining us for Slingblade. We'll see you next week for Cherry 2000. So long for now.
beady, beady, beady. Oh, Master Yoda, those muffins went through my colon like a Japanese bullet train.